Hi, I'm Steve Kazheimer. Welcome to my garage. This is part 2 of my two-part series of image, pixels, and DPI. Oh my! In part 1, we left off discussing what happens when you send an image to print and the aspect ratio of your image doesn't match the print size of the image. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch part 1 first and then come on back and watch part 2. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention one thing. Some of you have commented on my audio quality in my last videos, trying something a little bit new. Borrowed a mic, you can see right here. Hello, this is a new mic. Ordered it from my buddy John Roberts. Hi, I'm Steve's buddy John. I lent him a mic. Thanks a lot, John. We'll see if the audio quality is much better. If any of you notice, let me know what you think in the comments down below. So let's get back into it with how to properly print different aspect ratios when they don't match the print sizes you want. Best way to do that is up on the computer. Let's launch up there now. All right, here we are in the computer. Let's dig into this. But first, one more important thing to do. So, printing odd aspect ratios. What do we do when we want to print different aspect ratios and they don't match the standard print sizes? Maybe the image we have fits perfectly in a square, like this one, but none of the standard print sizes are square. And if we just send it as is, you'll get the unfortunate cropping we discussed in part 1. Well, fundamentally, you need to fake it. You need to send a file to the print house that seems to have a 4:6 aspect ratio while maintaining the square image, which is 4:4 in this example. Hi, I'm Steve's son, Ethan, and this is my Easter egg I made. I got it tweeted by the Canucks, 140,000 views. Really what we do is to add bars on the right and left of the image to fill in the extra space to make the 4:4 into a 4:6, 1 inch on either side. Typically, I'll use a medium shade of gray. If you use a color here, it may throw off the colors of the print. Photo printing shops often make minor adjustments to color and contrast and brightness unless you specifically ask them not to. So putting a neutral gray on the sides means they're not going to do anything extra adjusting. Adding these bars is fairly easy to do in Photoshop using the image canvas size command. First, you set the units to pixels, set the height to match your image size, 1,000 in this case, set the width to 1.5 times the height to create the 4:6 aspect ratio, 1,500 in this case. Set the anchor to the center so the canvas will grow symmetrically on both sides, and then select the canvas extension color to gray. Now, you have an image that's 4:6. Send this to the print shop, and there will be no surprise cropping. When you get it home, all you need to do is cut the gray bars off. Ta-da! 4:4 print. This is even easier to do in Lightroom in the print module. Lightroom already understands this problem and is ready to do all the work for you. Lightroom already knows the original image aspect ratio and how it compares to the print size when you select it. Lightroom will automatically add gray, or whatever color you want, bars on the right and left or top and bottom to create a JPEG image that has the matching aspect ratio. Here's the steps for Lightroom. Select the image you want to print, go into the print module, enter the print size you want in the custom file dimensions, 4:6 in this case, select the file resolution, typically 300 pixels per inch or dots per inch. We'll get into more of this later. And you can see Lightroom has added gray bars. No math. Print to file, get your JPEG, send it for printing. It's just that easy. And now, since we're talking about printing, this leads us to DPI. What is DPI, or PPI as Lightroom calls it? Dots per inch, or pixels per inch. That's it. It defines how many dots, or pixels, are printed in 1 horizontal or vertical inch. If I print an uncropped image from my camera, it has 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. If I print this on a 4:6, note that the aspect ratio matches, the result will be 4,000 pixels across 4 vertical inches and 6,000 pixels across 6 horizontal inches. That works out to 1,000 dots per inch. If I print this exact same image on an 8:12, I get a different result. Same aspect ratio, but a larger print. Now I have 4,000 pixels spread across 8 inches and 6,000 pixels spread across 12 inches. 6,000 pixels divided by 12 inch, or 4,000 pixels divided by 8 inch equals 500 pixels per inch, 500 DPI. That's it, nothing too tricky. For most printing, images 8 by 12 or smaller, you don't really need to be too concerned with DPI. Typical cameras these days have plenty of resolution, even if you crop a bit to print these sizes. You typically would like to have 300 dots per inch or more to get a clean, crisp image, as long as the image itself is in focus and all those other technical details. The 300 DPI guideline is good for images you'll be viewing close up, within arm's length. You could probably push this down to 200 DPI and have it still acceptable, but this depends on the image itself. 100 DPI at this range, you will notice the image is definitely soft. I had the wrong setting in Lightroom a while back and thought the print lab had screwed up all my prints because they were all just a little bit soft. Turns out it was my problem. They were at 100 dots per inch. Just makes the image look fuzzy. So 300 dots per inch is the goal for smaller images viewed at arm's length. Larger images, like a 24 inch by 36 inch poster size, are typically viewed at a further distance, so you can get away with a slightly lower DPI and the image will still look sharp at the normal viewing distance. Of course, if you move in close to the poster and look close to the details, you may notice some softness. For this size print, I would generally target 200 DPI or greater. Billboards on the side of the road, if you go for the extreme, they're viewed from a much longer distance. I don't know what resolution they actually print, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 50 or maybe 75 DPI. So when you're sending your images for printing, you want the aspect ratio JPEG to match that of the print size. And you want the printed resolution to be 300 DPI or better. Stick to these and you won't get any surprises when you pick up your prints. And now, some notes about JPEGs and file sizes. In a minute. I've had some dealings with professional print shops that print large logos to go on vehicles, maybe on the side of a van, that kind of thing. This is a whole different area of printing, and as they always want vector files, but this is a subject for a different video. My main point is that the print shop would reject my JPEG images based on the file size. They would say, don't have enough DPI. The file should be at least 5 megabytes. Well, this is horse. You should never judge a JPEG by the file size. The file size of a JPEG depends on a few things. First of all, the resolution. The more pixels, the larger the file. Makes sense. This is where most people stop thinking. Second thing is the compression ratio. JPEGs are compressed to make the file sizes smaller, and the amount of compression can be adjusted. Higher the compression, smaller the file will be. The file will still have the same number of pixels, same resolution, same aspect ratio. Typically, whenever you save your JPEG on a computer, there will likely be a setting of high compression, smaller file size, or low compression, larger file size, but better quality. Always use high quality, low compression, so you don't lose any details in your image. Third thing is the image itself. The more details in an image, the larger the JPEG file size. If your image is of a crowd of people's faces, then the file will be large because there's lots of details. If you have a picture of just calm water and a sunset, a lot smaller file. The more details in the image, the less you can compress and maintain the details. Here's an example. Here's a very uninteresting image, all one solid color. Who would want that? It's for demonstration purposes. Bear with me. Here's another uninteresting image, random noise. Kind of looks like an old TV that's not tuned in to a proper station. Anybody remember those TVs out there? These two images, exactly same resolution, exactly same compression ratio. One is 26 kilobytes. The other is 4,961 kilobytes. 190 times the difference in file size. Hope I've made my point. Don't use file size as an indicator of resolution, and don't let your friends or professional print shops do so either. All right, let's put this all together. Cropping, sizing, aspect ratio, printing, matting. Resizing for projection. Let's say you're part of a photo club and you want to share your images on the club's projector. They ask you to resize your image to match the projector's resolution of 1920 by 1080, standard high-def resolution. As you're a true artist, the image itself dictates the aspect ratio, and it could be anything. We want to match the resolution of your JPEG that you submit to the club to that of the projector screen, so the pixels are mapped 1-to-1, no resizing required. If you're using the image with its original resolution, say 6,000 by 4,000 from your camera, the computer displaying your image will need to resize it. How it resizes it and how it sharpens it is up to the software being used and totally out of your control. If you resize the image at home, you can control how it gets resized and sharpened, settings within your editing software, and you can preview exactly how your image will be displayed. If your image is the correct size, the software at the club meeting doesn't need to do anything, and your image will just be displayed in the manner you intended. You can do your resizing in any photo editing software you're using. In this example, the number of horizontal pixels must be less than or equal to 1920. The number of vertical pixels must be less than or equal to 1080. Some projectors may be 1400 by 1050. The numbers may be different, but the concept is exactly the same. Here are 3 examples of resizing a landscape image, a square image, and a portrait image. It is important to note that this is slightly different from printing. When printing to a 4x6, it doesn't really matter if it's landscape or portrait. The print shop will always auto-rotate your image so the long edge of your image is aligned with the long edge of the print. You can always manually rotate the print when you're holding it. You cannot rotate a projector when displaying your image. It doesn't matter which is the long edge of your image. The horizontal must be equal or less than 1920, and the vertical must be less than or equal to 1080. Here's a common error people make when resizing a portrait image. They know it needs to be 1920 by 1080, so they set the short edge to 1080, and the end result is this. Fits on the projector screen, well, sideways, not so well vertically. This should have been like this. How's your beer? If you're like most people, you want to share your images on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Follow me, by the way. Here's my links. If you're going to share your images, you'll want to resize them to be more appropriate for viewing online. This generally requires a much lower resolution than printing. The aspect ratio is not that critical, as most platforms will adapt to what you're using. However, there are some limitations and recommendations. Facebook. Aspect ratio must be 16:9 or less, whether it's a portrait or landscape. So your panoramas will be a bit limited. Recommended resolution should be 1200 by 628 for posts and 1920 by 1080 vertical for stories. Instagram. Ideal is 1080 by 1080 as it's based on a square. Images are best to have a width of 1080 and a height between 566 and 1350. If your image falls outside this aspect ratio range, it will be cropped. I just wanted to add a quick note about sending images to someone via email. This is a tough one because there are so many different email programs and things are quite different between Windows and iOS, PC versus tablet versus phone, and so forth. In general, if you insert an image into your email so it appears in line with your text, then the image will likely be automatically reduced in size significantly. If you're just sending it to someone to show them and they'll only view it on their phone or computer, this works great, no problem. If you're sending it to someone to print or to be displayed on a projector or submitted to a photo competition, this ain't gonna cut it. You don't want your image reduced in size. In this case, it's better to attach your image to your email the same way you would attach a zip file or a PDF document. This will preserve the original JPEG image and won't do any resizing. All right, let's wrap this up. I hope this has helped in some way to clear up some of these printing, cropping concepts that come up with dealing with your photography. Maybe you learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, just ask. Comments down the doobly-doo. You can reach me on my webpage. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications of any new videos I might put out. Thanks for watching. Cheers.